What did you think, Willie, yesterday of first of all, Trump and then Clinton's response to Trump? I thought it was pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I thought on the sliding scale of Trump as professional political candidate, that was a pretty professional speech. I mean, he had a message. I thought it was one of the best days he's had on the campaign trail. He did drift as it went on into some of the conspiracy stuff, but I thought the one line where he said, "I'm for her" is her slogan, and he said, "I'm for you." That sounded like something, Nicole, that you guys would get together in a room, professionals, and say, this should be our message.
Yeah, no, listen, I thought that was a great moment, and I thought, you know, I was here for the live coverage of it, and it ended, and Katie Tur and Hallie and everyone started analyzing it as though it was just a normal politician delivering a normal speech.
Right.
And it tied my head in a knot. I said, wait, you have to judge Trump on a 24-hour spectrum, and I took on the mission of watching all night. And what was more impressive than the speech, which was very well crafted and well delivered, was that he managed to get through the rest of the day without stepping on his own message. And I think that was the test that Republicans were looking at him to see if he could pass. And I think he passed the performance test. He also passed not stepping on his own message.
No doubt about it. And Donnie Deutsch, what was so fascinating is yesterday he gave the speech, and after he gave the speech, some people came to him on the campaign and said, "Hey, listen, you've got several interviews that are scheduled throughout the day, like he does every day. Why don't you just let your speech speak for itself?" And Donald Trump, for the first time in the campaign, said, "Okay." And he did. So we're talking about a planned speech that smart people helped put together, instead of something that he said off the top of his head at 7:34 last night when he was tired.
You know, I find it astounding that we act amazed and he gets gold stars for walking and chewing gum at the same time.
No, we're not giving him gold stars.
No, what I'm saying,
make no mistake.
Joe.
Make no mistake. We say he needs to show some discipline, and when he shows some discipline, then you go, and I heard this all last night. It's amazing. He reads off a teleprompter.
Joe, I guess that's my point. No, but
he should read off a teleprompter.
But he's getting gold stars. He basically did not say anything ridiculous. I didn't think his speech was great. I thought it was the kitchen sink. And I thought, once again, saying things like that Hillary is completely responsible for all the problems in the Middle East. And the fact that he is feeding gold stars, kudos or positive recognition for reading off a teleprompter, for not going off the rails, and giving what I thought was a very kind of all-over-the-map kitchen sink. I think we need a higher bar here than him just exploding.
No. I don't think anyone.
You were.
I said he passed the test he needed to pass, and every candidate.
And what is that test? Acting like a normal human being?
His test was he had $1.3 million, and the entire Republican leadership had to rebuke him every week for the last 4 weeks. So that didn't happen.
It's like a kid who didn't throw his cereal against the wall.
No one is throwing him a parade.
But
We're just
here's
suggesting
the thing.
there was movement.
Here's the most important thing, Mike Barnacle. When Donald Trump drives a runaway beer truck with his hair on fire, shooting guns wildly with both hands out both windows, shouting profanities and insulting everybody in sight, he's tied in Pennsylvania and Ohio. I mean, when he is the worst politician of all time, he's tied in Ohio and Pennsylvania. And this. Well, why does this matter? It matters because if he gets on a disciplined game, then suddenly Republicans go, wait a second, and it's already started. I can write a check to this guy. They're raising a lot of money online. You're going to see that in a couple of weeks, and it's going to start rolling in. Why does it matter that he's acting like a normal human being? Because Republicans say, hey, I'm glad he's acting like a normal human being for once. Yeah, I think I might write him a check. It matters.
No,
let's pretend it doesn't matter.
No, that does matter, Joe. That does matter. There's no doubt about it. But I mean, Nicole sort of edged up to what is going on, what went on yesterday, in that we have to cover. It's sort of like Trump today. That's the coverage. What does he do today? Does he change? Does he revert back today to who he really is? I mean, he got a 24-hour reprieve, but Donnie's right in a sense too. If you look at the text of that speech, what was it about? I mean, it was a torrent of insults towards Hillary Clinton, very little substance. The substance that he did reference, Joe, causes him potentially a great division with his own political party, because he was talking about rebuilding America. He's really talking about a huge jobs program. He's talking about things, the America that he remembers, all referenced and built by government, roads, dams, canals, all government stuff. So he's talking about potentially spending an enormous amount of government money.
So guess what, Mike? That's called the pivot. He was talking to Bernie supporters saying, you've been let down. These trade deals have let us down. I'm going to bring about a new industrial age. I'm going to bring jobs back to America. And yes, I will use the power of government to do that. There are a hell of a lot of Bernie supporters. There are a hell of a lot of people from Wisconsin all the way through Michigan, through Ohio, through Pennsylvania, who say that's a message. You look at the Pew poll we're going to be talking about in a little bit, Willie Geist, and Americans are more divided now than ever before. Those people, those Republicans, they're going to vote for Trump. If he shows them that he's sane, he can afford to move to the center and talk about rebuilding roads, rebuilding infrastructure, rebuilding America, bringing jobs back to America, and actually start stealing Democratic votes. That's at least the theory of the case, and it's been working now for him for about 12 hours. There's a long way to go. Nobody is overselling this.
Right.
We're simply stating what happened yesterday, which is our job.
And that's why I said at the top, it's the sliding scale. We're grading Trump on a curve. We'll see if he can maintain this. He had some discipline yesterday. We'll see if he can maintain it over the next 12 hours.
Exactly.
Here's a little bit of what he said during that speech yesterday.
This election will decide whether we are ruled by the people or by the politicians. True. Hillary Clinton has perfected the politics of personal profit and even theft. She ran the State Department like her own personal hedge fund, doing favors for oppressive regimes, and many others, and really many, many others, in exchange for cash, pure and simple, folks. The choice in this election is a choice between taking our government back from the special interests or surrendering really the last scrap of independence to the total and complete control of people like the Clintons. Americans are the people that tamed the West, that dug out the Panama Canal, that sent satellites across the solar system, that built the great dams, and so much more. Then we really started thinking small. Something happened. Something happened to our mentality. We started thinking small. We stopped believing in what America could do and became reliant on other countries, other people, and other institutions. We lost our sense of purpose and daring. But that's not who we are.
Nick Confessori, as Maggie Haberman said, in a story that had some tough critiques of Trump, she did also say, though, it was a more hopeful speech. You certainly get the tone of it there. Instead of America's not great anymore, you know, even lines being written in there, that's not who we are. We can build a new industrial age. That is a more hopeful message for Americans to digest.
Well, also, you know, I heard him in that speech really targeting the things that are most vulnerable on Hillary Clinton and the things that might make him most appealing to middle swing voters, right? Jobs programs, infrastructure spending, things, frankly, Republicans are reluctant to touch in a general election even. And going after her trustworthiness, I think a lot of Americans are worried and skeptical about what they've read about the foundation and the donors to the foundation and appointments at the State Department. And those are the points of vulnerability. If he can stay sort of in that lane, he can probably do a better job. I'm just wondering, Joe, if the part of Trump that has made him successful and fired up people and fired up his insurrection in the party can be divided from the part of him that can win the whole election, right? So if he tames it down too much, is he going to lose those people who are so excited to really see his manner and his bluntness and sometimes his over bluntness?
Yeah, I think that's the real challenge. It is a balance. I personally, again, I don't think a lot of the Trump supporters are going to go anywhere at least for now, the hardcore Trump supporters. If they were going to go somewhere, they would have had thousands of excuses to do it already. They're not going to do it because he's reading a teleprompter, I don't think. But Katty K, I thought it was very interesting when Donald Trump was going after Hillary Clinton, at one point being really harsh, calling her a world-class liar. He keyed in on something. Donald Trump, I think Donald Trump's Achilles heel, at least Donald Trump thinks, is Trump University. Hillary Clinton's, I really think, is the Clinton Foundation, because there were so many cases where other countries would come talk to her. Bill Clinton, a couple of months later, would be getting $550,000 in that country for a one-hour speech. And it just reminded me of a puncher punching somebody where somebody was bruised already. I mean, I think they really hit a spot of vulnerability for Hillary Clinton. And there she was responding just a couple of hours later.
Yeah, but I thought that response was pretty effective, didn't you, Joe? The way she immediately came back and said, listen, Donald Trump's been selling steaks and wine and water and all those things we saw up on stage behind him in Florida not so long ago. And the Clinton Foundation is helping poor people around the world. Now, we haven't had a huge amount because the focus has been so much on the email issue and her time in the State Department around the Clinton Foundation. That may all now come out much more, and Donald Trump may drive that exposure much more. But so far, I think most people, when they look at Hillary Clinton and they think untrustworthy, what is it we don't like about her? It's not the Clinton Foundation that people are talking about. It's the email issue that people are talking about. But I mean, I agree with Nick. I think there's a tone issue here for Donald Trump. He read the teleprompter fine. He gave a kind of boilerplate speech, but he didn't sound like Donald Trump. I mean, he didn't sound like the excited, happy candidate to be out there who loves, you know, bashing people and loves the tone of his own voice. I think this is going to be really hard for him to maintain because it just doesn't feel natural to him.
Nicole, what do you think?
You know, I think that in the same way that we can't throw a parade for him because he had, you know, 45 minutes of message discipline, I think we can't hold him to an unrealistic standard of needing him to be all things in every moment. I got passed around a text I got from one of the Trump supporters in my personal focus group who was thrilled to see him sticking to a script, thought that maybe the idea that his family was in control, people that he works with day in, day out on the business side of his life, which is how his brain is obviously wired, was a hopeful sign. So I agree with your assessment that his supporters, if they haven't walked away because of 4 consecutive weeks of, you know, racism scandals, they're not going to walk away because he didn't titillate them yesterday on a teleprompter.
Right. Hey, Donnie, let me ask you something. It'd be fascinating to get your response. We have been talking about the emails because there's an active FBI investigation that obviously drives the news, and that's why we've been talking about the emails instead of talking about the Clinton Foundation. I don't think Americans care whether Trump Steaks failed or not, or whether Trump University failed or not, or whether this failed or not, or whether that failed or not. I don't think that cuts to the core of what 2016 is about. I think 2016 is a changed election. People feel like the government's let them down. I actually do think the money, the Clinton Foundation, all the questions swirling around that, I do think that for some reason seems to fit more tightly with the anti-government mood this year, that somebody went to the State Department, used their power, used their influence to rig the system so people and their family could make $550,000 delivering a one-hour speech. That actually fits the system is rigged theory much more than Trump sold steaks and the steaks stunk.
I'm going to give it kind of a tie, a wash on both, because it's not just steaks. It's just that he's a flim-flam guy. He's a con artist. He's making money off the little guy. And I kind of call that a wash on the other side, that Clinton is status quo and Clinton the big establishment, and they use their influence to make money. I think that that's kind of a wash on both sides. I think the overall gestalt on both sides is continually to sell Hillary as untrustworthy overall and continually to sell Trump as potentially dangerous overall. And I think those things are all subheads, but they still add up to those big micro brand stickers. And whoever paints a bigger picture, a bigger brand sticker on the other one, wins this one.
Hey, and Joe, off of what, you know, Donnie's last reference there to, you know, people think he might be dangerous. we haven't alluded to this, we haven't mentioned it, but yesterday Brent Scowcroft endorsed Hillary Clinton. 99% of the people watching today and 99% of people under the age of 40 don't know who Brent Scowcroft is, but he's an important guy in the foreign policy establishment. He's an important guy in Republican foreign policy circles, in national security circles. I suspect he's the first of those types of people who will endorse Hillary Clinton, and that gets to, I think, an unknown quantity in this election. Donald Trump, national security, and is he capable do people want him sitting there with his hand on the nuclear button? Versus, and I think the answer is a resounding no.
Versus untrustworthy and more of the same.
Yeah.
That's the choice.
I actually think, and I do think a lot more people know who Brent Scowcroft is. Certainly watching the show, I think that's significant. I will say though, Willie, I agree with Donnie completely. On the two labels that the other side should attach. For Trump, it is dangerous. You want people to think it's too dangerous to take that chance. That's what they tried with Ronald Reagan in 1980. Jimmy Carter failed, but that's what you have to do with Trump. And on Hillary's side, it's corrupt. She's too corrupt to trust with the presidency of the United States, and she proved it at the State Department. So dangerous versus corrupt. That's probably how this thing's gonna break out.
Yeah, and if there's one thing on Hillary Clinton that you've seen again and again in polls as a weakness, it's just that. It's that she's not trustworthy. It's that there's something not quite right about the Clintons, and he's got to throw up that cloud of smoke of suspicion. By the way, I said Brexit was the word of the day. It's now been trumped by Gestalt. Thank you, Donnie Deutsch. I'm glad we got that into the lexicon of the morning. That's fantastic.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.